Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi Pesachim and Nuntes. We're 2 lines from the bottom of Nunches Amud Beis. Ton Rabbanan, we learned in a Brisa. Now we learned yesterday that there's a mitzvah called Hashlama. It's a mitzvah Asay. We learned from a pasuk, V'hiktir aleh chelvei hashlamim, that we're meant to be mashlam, to complete our entire repertoire of karbanos with the Tamid Shel Shachar. So first comes the Tamid Shel Shachar, then all the karbanos, nedorim and adavis, and the last and final carbon of the day is meant to be the Tamid Shel Bein Ha'arbayim. However, there are some exceptions. Tana Rabbanan, we learned in the Brisa, Tamid koidim le Pesach. Tamid Shel Bein Ha'arbayim, that is, will precede the carbon Pesach, which will follow the carbon Tamid. That's one exception. We have another couple of exceptions. Pesach koidim le K'teris. After the carbon Pesach, you proceed to the K'teris, which is brought on the Mizbeach HaPnimi. And then finally, K'teris koidemes l'neiris. Then come the neiris adam and So it's like this. Tamid Shel Bein Ha'arbayim, followed by the carbon Pesach, then come K'teris and neiris. Now why is that? Why do we allow the carbon Pesach to be brought after the Tamid Shel Bein Ha'arbayim? Explains the Gemara. Yu'uchar davar. We're meant to delay a thing, shenever boy be'erev u'ben Ha'arbayim, because regarding carbon Pesach, we find a double mentioning of evening. The Torah says be'erev and bein Ha'arbayim. That's a double lateness. Therefore, that comes after. L'davar shelo nemer boy be'erev elo bein Ha'arbayim bovad. That gets delayed past the Korban Tamid, where it only says Bein Ha'arbayim, and not Bein Ha'arbayim with Ba'erev. The fact that Korban Pesach features both these references, Ba'erev and Bein Ha'arbayim, indicates that it's meant to be delayed past the Tamid. Let's see Rashi on top. Yuchar Davar, says Rashi, time with the Reish Kamafarish. We're trying to explain the beginning of the Brisa. Why is it that Pesach will follow the Korban Tamid? Tamid koidim le Pesach. Why? The dinu shiuchar ha-Pesach shneba be'erev bein Ha'arbayim tizbach as ha-Pesach be'erev v'shochto oisai. So we find a reference to be'erev and bein Ha'arbayim by Pesach. That comes after l'tamid shleiner by elak esakevet Hashem etas bein Ha'arbayim. And that's the reason why the Pesach will come after the Tamid. Continues the Gemara. Ihachi. If that's the case, then K'teris v'neiris nami nigdemu lePesach. Based on this rationale, Pesach should be delayed past the K'teris and the neiris, which should come before Pesach. Why? Because by Pesach we have be'erev and bein Ha'arbayim. Yuchar davar shenever by be'erev bein Ha'arbayim. Pesach, since it has reference to Be'erev and Bein Ha'arbayim, it should be delayed past L'davar Shalei by Ela Bein Ha'arbayim Bovad, past the K'teris and Neiris, where it only says Bein Ha'arbayim. It doesn't have Be'erev. The pasuk says Ubahalis Aranas HaNeiris Bein Ha'arbayim Yaktireno. So it only has Bein Ha'arbayim, but Pesach has Bein Ha'arbayim and Be'erev, double lateness, double evening. So why is it that the Brisa tells us at first it's Pesach and then K'teris and Neiris? Shani Hasam. There it's different. The Miyat Rachmana Oisei. But there's a special Miyat to indicate that Neiris as well as K'teris are meant to be the last activity of the day. The Sanya. Me'erev va'ad boiker. Pasuk says that Aaron HaKohen should set up the Neiris, light them. Me'erev ad boiker l'fnei Hashem. What does that teach us? A couple of things. Firstly, Tein lo midas, meant to contribute the proper amount of oil that will last through the night. Give the measure of oil shed to heidei lekes me'erev ad boiker, so it can last from evening to morning. Rashi says there's a half a lug per lamp to accommodate the longest night of the year. So that's number one. You're meant to provide enough oil so that the candle, the flame should last. Me'erev ad boiker. Davar ach, another thing we learn from here. There's no other avodah which is kosher at this point, from evening till morning, except for this, except for the neiris. Meaning that you light the Neris at the end of the day, it's going to last from evening to morning. And that's the only thing that's active in the Beis HaMikdash at that point. You don't do anything else. No other avodah is executed at that point. My time, why? Omakro, Ya'aroch, Oisei Aaron Ubanav, Me'erev Ad Boker. We learn from here, Oisei Me'erev Ad Boker. Only the Neris are meant to be there, Me'erev Ad Boker. They're meant to be the only active feature in the Beis HaMikdash. Veidavar Acham Me'erev Ad Boker. But nothing else is meant to take place. Me'erev Ad Boker. V'iskish Keteris and Neris. How we connect Keteris to Neris because it's in the same pasuk. Pasuk says, "Ubahalis Aranis Haneris Bein Harbayim Yaktirana Keteris Tamid L'fnei Hashem U'Deresechem." So we connect the two, just as there's nothing after the Neris, there's nothing after the Keteris. Well, obviously, if Keteris come before Neris, then the Neris will follow the Keteris. But it means to say that nothing else other than Neris and Keteris will follow the Neris and Keteris. The Rivan points out that you can't put the Neris and Keteris together at the same time. Do them b'vasachas because we're not meant to do mitzvahs chavilas. So apparently it's Keteris immediately followed by the Neris. That's the svara because the word oisai, this miyut, is actually said by the Neris, by the pasuk discussing only Neris. It says Yarach oisai Aaron ubanav me'erev ad boker. So it's mistaver. The svara is that the Neris is the last item on the list, and the Keteris precedes it. So in any case, we see here that Keteris and Neris are meant to be the last avodos in the Beis HaMikdash. So apparently, the Pesach, although it's after the Tamid, shall be in Arbaim, but it's before the Keteris and Neris. So according to this brisa number 1, the sequence is as follows: Tamid shall be in Arbaim, followed by the Korban Pesach, because it says Be'erev and Ben Arbaim by the Pesach, indicating its lateness. And then we have Keteris, followed by the Neris. V'tanya Kikushin. We actually have another brisa, which is in line with our kasha. Which kasha? Why is it that it's Pesach and then Keteris and Neris? Shouldn't Pesach be the last on the list because it has Be'erev and Ben Arbaim? That was the kasha we had. And we had a teretz because it says Oisoi to indicate that the Neris are last. There's actually a brisa that concurs with that kasha and actually holds as such. That we have Tamid, and then Keteris, Neris, and all at the end, the Korban Pesach. V'tani Kikushin. Brisa says, Tamid koidem l'Keteris. First comes the Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim, and then the Keteris. Keteris kodemus l'Neris. First Keteris, and then Neris. V'Neris koidmois l'Pesach. And finally we have the Korban Pesach. That's the last item on the list. Why? For that very reason. Yu'ucher davar shenemar by be'erev ben arbaim. Let's delay the item, which features both terms, both references, be'erev and ben arbaim, which indicates lateness. L'davar shenemar by ela ben arbaim bavad. Two other things which only has ben arbaim included in their description. Therefore, the Korban Pesach is the last item on the list. It comes after the Talmud, after the Keteris, and after the Neris, which only have Ben Arbaim. Pesach has Be'erev and Ben Arbaim to indicate delay and lateness. Says the more what happened to the Oisai by the Neris. Me'erev ad Boker. It says Yarach Oisai to indicate that this is the only thing meant to take place at that point. V'oksiv Oisai. According to this brisa, we have something after the Neris, which is the Pesach. Says the Gemara, "Hay oisei me'boile." We need the oisei to tell us something else. L'mu'utei avoda shebifnim. It's coming to tell us that after the Neris, where are the Neris brought? The menorah inside the Pnim and the Heichal. That's the last of the avodas Pnim to take place in the Beis HaMikdash on that day. But it's not coming to remind the Korban Pesach, which is brought where? Outside in the Azor. So sure, the pasuk, Yarach Oisai, and Me'erev ad Boker, coming to tell us that the Neris are the last item on the list, the last activity, the last avodah in the Beis HaMikdash. That's coming to remind other avodas taking place inside. Nothing else will take place afterwards, inside, in the Heichel, on the Kodesh HaKadosh. But the Korban Pesach is not included in that meat, because that took place outside. So that's one could follow the nearest. What specifically are we might here? Ketores. That even the Ketores won't take place after the nearest. So it's first going to be Ketores and then nearest. Because perhaps I would think to say that it's nearest and then Ketores. When Aaron HaKohen will light up the nearest, ben arbaim yaktirena, he'll bring the Ketores. Ema, perhaps based on this, nadlik nearest bereish, he should first kindle the nearest, and then bring the Ketores. So nearest and then Ketores, mit rachman oisai. That's why we have the mit. Yarach oisai, aroin bonav me'erav boiker. That the nearest are meant to be the last of the avodos pnim in the Beis Hamikdash, and Ketores is meant to precede the nearest. Elo ben harbaim yaktirena lomli. So what does the pasuk mean when it says that the nearest will be there, and ben harbaim yaktirena ubahalos aron nesaneres ben harbaim yaktirena, which seems to indicate that the Ketores follows the nearest. This is what I know. Elo ben harbaim yaktirena lomli hachi kama rachmana. This is what the pasuk is saying. Beidna, the madlakas nearest, when he is engaged in lighting the nearest of the menorah, tehei makter Ketores. The Ketores should have already been brought, should be burning. But certainly the Ketores precede the nearest. So according to this brisa number 2, we have the Tamid Shel Ben Harbaim, followed by the Ketores, followed by the nearest, and finally the Korban Pesach, which is the last on the list. Tanu Rabbanon. We learned in the brisa, and again this is connected with what we learned yesterday. We have a mitzvah that say that the Tamid Shel Shachar should be the first korban. It says v'arach aleha ha'oila, that first korban should be the first to be brought in the Beis Hamikdash. And again we have the pasuk of Hashlim aleha Hashlim kol karbanos kulam. This is the drasha to tell us that all the karbanos in the Beis Hamikdash are meant to be brought together with the Tamid Shel Shachar. We relate to the Tamid Shel Shachar. It's the last korban in the Beis Hamikdash, which is going to be the Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim. The Gemara here will give us, again, some exceptions to the rule. Tanu Rabbanan. Ein lecha davar shekoidem l'Tamid Shel Shachar. We don't have any korban, anything brought on the Mizbeach, which will precede the Tamid Shel Shachar, ela Ketores b'levad, except for the Ketores, which comes first. Why? Shenema b'babayka. The Torah repeats babayka twice to indicate that it's meant to precede everything else. It's the introduction to today's avodah. V'yuktam Ketores. Ketores should precede, should be first, because it is davar shenemar by babayka. It's something that has a double reference of babayka. Yachsiv v'hikter olav Aaron Ketores samim babayka. So that should be magdim. That should be hugdam l'davar shaloi nemar by elabayker echad. So the korban Tamid Shel Shachar, which only has a single reference to Baker. The Torah indicates that the Ketores is meant to be very early, before the Tamid Shel Shachar. Continues the brisa. What about the Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim? Achar Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim. There's nothing that will come after the afternoon Tamid, Ella, except for the following items: Ketores, V'neiros, Upesach. And here comes another one on the list. Umechusa Kippurim be'erev HaPesach. Here we have a fellow who was for instance, a mitzvah. He's completely tired, but it's still Mechusa Kippurim, hadn't yet brought his karbanos. A mitzvah will bring a chatas and asham. That completes his kapara and enables him to eat kachim, to eat the korban Pesach. What happens if it's erev Pesach afternoon? He hadn't yet brought his karbanos. He's a mechusa kippurim. He cannot partake in the kachim. He can't eat the korban Pesach. It's after the Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim. What are we going to do? Says the brisa Chiddush, even though it's after the Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim, when we're not meant to bring karbanos any longer. There's a mitzvah say that the korban Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim is meant to be the last of the karbanos. However, in order to accommodate this fellow here, we're going to make an exception to the rule. We're going to bring his karbanos after the Tamid shall be Arbaim to enable him to eat the Korban Pesach. U'mechusar Kippurim be'erev HaPesach. Shel Toivel Shenis. So after his Karbanas, he'll be Toivel again. V'oichlas Pesach l'erev. And this will enable him to eat his Korban Pesach that night. Rabbi Shmuel b'noi shel Rabbi Yochanan Breka Omer. We have another example, another exception. Af mechusar Kippurim b'shar Yemais Hashana. This doesn't only apply to Erev Pesach. Any mechusar Kippurim in the middle of the year in Tu B'Shvat. Rashi explains he brought a Korban Shlomim, let's say, but he's still a mechusar Kippurim. Now he finds himself after the Tamid Shel Ben Arbayim and hadn't yet brought his Karbanos and is unable to eat that Korban Shlom that he brought today. In order to enable him to eat the Korban, which is a mitzvah saseh, to eat Karbanos, we go ahead and we make an exception to the rule, and we will bring his Korban even at this late hour. So we'll bring his Korban, he'll go to the mikveh again, which will enable him to eat kachim that very night. Perhaps let's see Rashi inside here. So we back up from where we're holding at the Gemara, back up around 16, 17 lines. You'll see Rashi begins with the words Ein lecha kol davar. So the Brisa began by issuing this general klal. There's nothing, no Korban, be'ishim, that's going to be koydem l'tamid shel shach elekteris shenamar ba be'parshas v'atatetzava ba'boker, which indicates very early. U'atamid like siv l'chad boker. So we learn from here that the Ketores comes before the Tamid. What about after the Tamid Shel Ben Arbayim? Generally, it's the last Korban. But we make some exceptions. Pesach, because as we learned before, it has that double lashon of the Erev. We have Ketores, we have Neris. And now we're going to have another example. Umachusar Kippurim. Kugon mitzvah oizav. Sheshachach v'lo yehevi kaparasei koydem l'tamid. He forgot to bring this Korban before the Tamid Shel Ben Arbayim. If you won't bring it, lo yoichal Pesach. He can't eat his Pesach. The mechusar Kippurim aser b'kachim b'anish kares. So he won't eat his Korban, he'll get kares, because he's ignoring achilas Pesach. If a person negates the mitzvah of Korban Pesach, he gets kares. So in order to accommodate him, we bring his Korban even at this late hour. Shetovel. Why do you have to be Tovel again? Even though he already was Tovel yesterday, B'Shviyah Shaloi in the seventh day, he needs to do another tefillah after the kapara, after the karbonis. That's not Mechamer B'Kodesh. Fine. So that's the Tanakama. Rabbi Shmuel says, even a ordinary Mechusar Kippurim, not an Erev Pesach, we will do this for him. V'shai Mos Hashana, says Rashi. Why is it necessary? Because imhevi shalmin adava koydem atamid. Let's say he brought a shlamim before the Tamid Shel Ben Arbayim. V'oyem mechusar Kippurim. Now, v'im lo yavi kaparasa lo yachal shlamim. If he won't bring his kapara now at this late hour, he will not be able to eat his shlamim, and he's meant to eat his korban. Dechsiv v'achal oisam asher kupa behem al ma'achil shlamim asei. Eating a korban is a mitzvah asei. Bein hanecholim l'kahanim, whether the part that goes to the kahanim, bein hanecholim Yisrael, gvaldi chiddush, the portion of the korban which goes to the Yisrael garners a mitzvah haseh. Therefore, we allow him to bring his korban at this late hour in order to allow him to eat his korban that night or that day. Continues the Gemara. So we have some exceptions to the rule. One of them being the Mechusar Kippurim Erev Pesach, or as Shmuel Bnei Shel Brechem Rekes says, even a standard Mechusar Kippurim throughout the year. Says, well, let's analyze. Bishlam Tanakama, we understand the Tanakama, who allows the korban to be brought at this late hour on Erev Pesach, because it's very important for him to have this korban, so he can eat his Erev Pesach. He can eat his korban Pesach, which is a very important mitzvah say that carries koros. So Bishlam Tanakama, Yovei Esed the Pesach, Sheish Bekoros, we allow the mitzvah say of korban Pesach, which carries koros, v'yitcha asay the Hashlama, to be doicha, to override the essay of Hashlama. That's the mitzvah say, to be mashlam all the korbanos on the Tamid Shel Shachar, meaning to have everything done before the Tamid Shel Ben Arbayim. That's the mitzvah say the Hashlama, the completion. So the mitzvah say of eating the korban Pesach, which carries koros, it certainly stands higher than the mitzvah to save Hashlama, she'ein by karas, it has no karas. So you understand why one negates the other. We do away with the essay of Hashlama to provide the carbon pesach, to allow for the mitzvah say that carries karas. Ella, let Shmuel b'nai shel brechem break. But according to him, who says that even on an ordinary weekday, we accommodate the Mechusar Kippurim to allow him to eat his carbon shlama, which is a mitzvah say. Now, what are you doing? You're overriding one mitzvah say to be mekayim the other. My umay the hayaseh, my hayaseh. What is so special? Why do you deem this essay, the essay of eating the carbon, to be more important, to be more chashiv, mi hayaseh, from this essay of Hashlama? Why does one override the other? Omar Avina Rav Chisda. The answer is, we're not speaking about a behema, which goes on the fire, on the ishim of the mizbeach. Rather, hocha b'chatas ho'if askinan. So, for instance, we're speaking about a mitzvah, who's a mechusar kippur. He needs to bring his karbanos, and we're speaking about a mitzvah who's a pauper who needs to bring a bird instead of a behema. He'll bring a chatas ho'if. She'elam mizbeach la'adam. The only thing that goes on the mizbeach is the dam of the chatas ho'if. There's nothing on the fire, nothing going to be burnt, huktar in the mizbech. If that's the case, there's no hesitation in bringing it after the tamid shel ben arbaim. You can't bring a carbon on the ishim, on the fire. It can be mocked or something, but just putting dam on the mizbech, which is what happens when you bring a chatas soif, that's okay. That can happen even after the tamid shel ben arbaim. That's a chiddush that we Shmuel b'nai shel brechem break is introducing for us. He's telling us that there's no concern after the tamid shel arbaim if it's not something going on fire. Rav Papa Amar, afilu tema b'chatas behema. You could even be speaking about a wealthy mitzvah who brings an animal, a chatas behema. How's he going to take care of it after the tamid shel ben arbaim? Mala umalina b'rosh shel mizbeach. He brings it up to the mizbeach and leaves it on the sidelines. He's malina. He leaves it overnight until tomorrow. So he's not actually makter it. He's makter of it. So Mechusar Kippurim now has his hakrava. He can go to his kachim. But he was never makter it on the mizbech. He didn't put it on the fire. He didn't burn it up. He left it on the sidelines of the mizbech until morning. Waited until the tamid shel shachar was brought tomorrow morning. And then they were actually makter the whatever it is that they're going to be makter, the chalavim, the fats of the carbon chatas. And the halacha is that when something is sitting on the mizbeach throughout the entire night, it doesn't become pasul. So we have everything. We have everything taken care of. The Mechusar Kippurim has his hakrava. It can go eat his kachim. But we were not over on any essay of Hashlama because we were not maktir anything until tomorrow morning. And the fact that it stayed overnight did not result in any psul alina because it was situated on the mizbeach itself. Says the Gemara, that explains the chatas. Va'ika asham. We know that a mitzvah needs to bring 3 korbanos: oila, chatas, and asham. What about the asham? How's he going to bring that at this late hour after the tamid shel ben arbaim? Bishlam Rav Papa. So according to Rav Papa, it works. Hainu de manla. Here as well, he just puts it on the sidelines, on top of the mizbech, on the side of the mizbech, leaves it there overnight, as we explained with the chatas. So chatas and asham had the same solution. Elul Rav Chisda Michael Amema, according to Rav Chisda, who suggested that we're speaking about a chatas ha'oif. Yeah, that explains the chatas, which could come in a bird form. And only the dam goes in the mizbech, so there's no concern of the essay dashlema. But an asham cannot come in a bird form. It can only come as a behema. How is it going to be maktir the asham after the tamid shel ben arbaim? Amri, so they answered, shekarav asham. We're speaking actually that the asham was already brought before the tamid shel ben arbaim. So that was done properly. It was only the chatas that he hadn't yet brought. And the chatas, as we explained, is the chatas oiv. So he can just accommodate the chatas oiv by putting the dam in the mizbeach, and there's no negation of the essay dashlam. What happened to the oila? Perhaps oila is not me'akav the kapara. So the kasha is, what happened to the oila, let's say he's an ani, and it's a bird, but the oila is going to be huktar on the mizbech, not just the dam, like by the chatas soif. An oila soif is burnt up on the mizbech in its entirety. How could that be done after Tamish ben Arbayim? Says the Gemara, b'chetema oila l'makva. Perhaps, okay, he doesn't bring his oil. It's not mi'akav the kapara, but that's not the case. Vatanya, Rabbi Shmuel b'noi, Shel Rabbi Yochanan Broika Omer. It's the very same on the Omer. He himself said, "Keshem shechatose v'asham ma'akvim." So just as his chatos and osham ma'akiv the kapara, kach oilasa makvose. Likewise, the oil is ma'akiv the kapara. So he must bring his oil as well. And how can he do so? After the tamid shebin arbayim. V'chitem b'shekar v'oilasoi. Perhaps he'll say, well, again, we're speaking that the oil was already brought beforehand, before the tamid. The only thing he still had to bring was the chatos. And since it's a chatos oif, we explained there's no concern because it's only the dam going on his mizbech. Is that the case? The oil can be brought first before the chatas. Can we say that the oil can be brought before the chatas? V'atanya. We have a brayso which tells us no, chatas is meant to precede the oil. V'hikrev es hashel chatas rishayna. So chatas comes first. What's the point of telling us that the chatas is rishayna? Im lelamit. If the pasuk here was speaking about the einish of a shvos bitoy, so that a false shvor. So if the pasuk there is telling us that, specifically in this case, in this halacha, he's meant to bring the chatas first. It already says in another pasuk that the second of the two, when you have chatas and oil, the second one is meant to be the oil. So what's the point of repeating it here again and saying, well, the chatas is meant to come first? We already know that when we have a chatas and oila, it's the chatas that comes first and oila second. This extra pasuk is going to serve as a binyan av. Rashi says, the translation of binyan av is, this binyan, this structure, this building is going to be an av. It's going to be a father, it's going to be a teacher, a source to elsewhere. It's going to provide a universal formula. Ze bona av l'chol chatois, regarding all chatois in the Torah. Sheyu koidmus l'chol oilos habois simon, that they're meant to precede the oilos that accompany them. The kaimelan, and we actually learned that afilu chatas oif koidemes l'oilos behema. Even a bird chatas, it's just a chatas oif. It will come before an oilos behema. In any case, we see very clearly that a chatas is meant to precede the oil. So, we had a kasha. How is it going to be makriv as oil after the tamid ben arbayim? Well, perhaps he already brought before the tamid, and all he has left is a chatas. That cannot be, because the chatas is meant to come first. Omar Rav Shani oilos metzora. Here it's different. It's an oilos metzora. Here, bidi evid, it can come even before the chatas. The Rachman Amar, the pasuk says, v'hela hakoyin. The pasuk uses this type of terminology. V'hela, he already was malad the oila. We learn from here shehela kvar, that even if he was already malad the oila before the chatas, it's okay, it's accepted, and it's machaper. Taisus points out, of course, there's only b'diavad. So we have a solution to our problem. We have a mitzvah. Let's say it's a mitzvah ani. He's standing in front of us after the tamid shel ben arbayim was already brought on his mizbeach. Rabbi Shmuel b'noi shel Brechem Breker tells us we can't go ahead and accommodate him. Bring this korban even at this late hour to allow him to eat his kachim. The Gemara says, well, eating kachim is an asay, but mitzvah hashlam is also an asay. Why do you choose one over the other? Why do you negate one asay to accommodate the other? So we had two pshatim. One was that we're speaking that he's taking the korban and putting it on the mizbeach without being makter it. That was Rav Papa's pshat. And if that's the case, he's not negating the esed hashleima because he's not being makter anything. He's waiting until tomorrow after the korban tamid shel shach. According to Rav Chizda, his pshat was that he's an ani, and he only has a chatas ha'oif, in which case only the dam is going to be brought on the mizbeach. That's not considered to be a negation, a bittul of the mitzvahs Aseh Hashlam, which only applies to things actually brought on the fire, on the ishim, and makter on the mizbech. Now, what about the asham, which can't be a bird? Gemara says, well, that was brought before the Talmud. What about the oila? Even if it's a bird, but it's going to be burnt on the mizbech. So the Gemara here as well, it was brought before the Talmud Shel Ben Arbaim. As we concluded from a pasuk, that when it comes to the mitzvah, we have an exception to the rule. And over here, but the oila can work before the chatas. Omalei, Rav Saman bar Abba Rav Papa. Lididach, according to your version of events, the Amras Mala Umalina B'Rosh Mizbeach. You say that they'll just bring the carbon. We're speaking about an asher who brings a chatos behema. Mala Umalina B'Rosh Mizbeach. They bring it up on the Rosh Hashanah, leave it there on the sidelines until morning, when you can go ahead and legally be maktir that carbon. Is that what you meant to do? Kaimin, should we proceed v'avdin and milsa l'kahanim and do something for the kahanim and present them with a possible pitfall, the osabol de takala, which can bring them to a takala, to a michshol? Why? Because the kohen will go up there in the middle of the night. He'll say, look, the chalavim of a carbon sitting on the mizbech. He'll figure it must be that this emurim, this chalav belongs to a carbon which was a valid carbon, which was already brought shchita. The zrika was brought before the tamish ben arbaim. In which case you can go ahead and be makted the chalav, even at this late hour. We're going to see soon, we learn it from a pasuk, that the Esed Hashlama means that you can't initiate a carbon after the Tamish Ben Abayim. But let's say the carbon was ready, Nishchat, and Nizrak, the dam was ready, applied to the Mizbeach. Even if the Chelev and the Imurim were not yet brought, you can go bring it later, after the Tamid. So the Kohen will confuse things. He'll see a Chelev on the Mizbeach, and he'll throw it into the fire, thinking that this carbon can be brought at this point. This Savri de Yaimeyu. They'll think that this carbon was actually hukrav during this day, during the past day, before the Tamish Ben Abayim. Vos lekturin, they'll come to Imaktrit. Let's see Rashi. 3 lines from the top. This Savra de Yoimai. Kshimaktirim kol alayla ivarim shenet toisru mikabonis. When the Kehanim are actively involved in being maktir, the Evarim, the parts of the karbanas which were left over from karbanas and nishchatu v'nizrak doman akaydim l'tamid, from karbanas that were nishchat and nizrak before the tamid. So when they're engaged in that, and they'll notice this lying there, v'yiru es evarim alolu, you swear nothing. Shagam meilan etoisru. These are also remnants of proper karbanas which are already processed throughout the day. V'ru'in laktirim hayom, and therefore they're right to be marked them today. V'yaktirim, and they'll go be marked. V'avri aseh dashlam, and they'll be doing an iser. They're over on the aseh vashlama, because this is meant to be sitting until tomorrow, until after Tamish Shachar. This was the kasha posed to Rav Papa. How can you allow for this arrangement, which can very well bring about to Michshel? Amar Leis, Rav Papa responded, no concern. Kahanim is reasoning. We know the Kahanim are conscientious, there's reason. As Rashi says, the fellow who brought them up on the Mizbeach will tell his fellow Kahanim, look, these Evarim are meant to remain here throughout the night until tomorrow morning. Amar Leis, Rav Ashlav Kahanim. V'amrila, and some say it was Rav Huna, Breder, Rav Nosson, Rav Papa. So we said that you take the carbon, place it on the Mizbech, not makter it, place it on the sidelines, leave it there until morning. Now, there's a problem with that. Because, true Rashi explained that the Mechusar Kippurim, the owner of the carbon, will have a kapar just by merely placing it on the Mizbech. That's considered hakrava. But, since you haven't been makriv, the emurim, the chalavim, the parts that belong on the fire, on the Mizbech itself, you are preventing the kohanim at this point from eating their portion of the carbon. Let's say a carbon chatas. They cannot eat the basa of the carbon before the imurin are brought on the mizbeach. V'hakama deloy miskatri imurin. As long as the imurin were not yet hooked on the mizbeach, Kohanim loy matzu achli basar. The Kohanim cannot yet eat the bas of the korban. They only have eating privileges after the Mizbeach got its share. The Sanya. Yochel Yehu Kohanim. Rashoyin b'chazav v'shayk. Perhaps Kohanim can partake in their chelik of the korban shlamim, the chazav, the shayk. Koydem aktoris imurn. Before the imurn are brought in the Mizbeach. Talmud Leimer, no. It goes with a system. V'iktar koyin es ha'chelav ha'mizbeach. That's number one. And then v'hadar v'haya chazal aron ulvanov. So first comes the aktoras imurn, and then the achilas basar. Now, the Khamad the Kohanim le'echle basar, as long as the Kohanim have not yet eaten the basar of the korban, ba'alam l'miskapri, the bailam, the owner of the korban, has not received his full kapara. Rashi Nivama says it's not a kapara shlema. True, there was Zrikas Hadam, which is the main kapara, but there's another element to the kapara. The Kohanim consuming the korban, that completes the kapara on behalf of the owner of the korban. So since the imur were not yet brought on the Mizbeach, were not yet huktar on the Mizbeach, in which case the Kohanim have to wait. They cannot eat their portion of the korban. So the owner is still a mechusa kippur. He's lacking his kapara. So what do you accomplish by putting the chatas on the Mizbeach overnight? He's still a mechusa kippur. He cannot yet eat kachim, the owner that is, because he hadn't yet accomplished his full kapara. The Sanya. V'ochlo oisam asher kupar bahem. So the Kohanim are going to eat, and it's going to bring kapara. Melama, this teaches us, Shakayahanim oichlim ubalam miskapra. When the Kohanim eat, the balam receive kapara. So interesting that although the emurin are not going to be burnt on the Mizbeach, that's not our main concern. Because the Mizbeach already got its achilas Mizbeach, the dam, the zrika, which is the main element of the akrov of the korban. So the fact that the emurin have to remain on the sideline, that wasn't the main concern. The concern was that prevents the Kohanim from eating the chelik. And that's crucial. That's me'ak of the kapara. The Mizbeach has to get his part, which is mainly the zrika, the dam, and the Kohanim have to receive their part, which completes the kapara. So what you accomplish by putting the chatas in the Mizbeach overnight, the owner will not accomplish kapara by doing so. And he cannot proceed to eat his korban shlamim. That was the whole point. The reason why we did this is to accommodate the Mechusar Kippurim, so he can go ahead and eat his korban shlam. He can't. At this point, he's still lacking kapara. Omar lei, so he responded, in this case it's different. Why? Even the lei efsha. Since we cannot yet, at this point, be maktir the chalavim, the imur, because it's after the Tomash Ben Abayim, we have to wait till tomorrow. So we're prevented from doing so. Asom kimishinitmu ashavtu. We treated it as though the emurim, the chalavim, the inside of the chadas, became tamei or lost. In which case, there's nothing to be marked. And what happens then? The Kohanim can have their portion. It's only when the emurim are still present and were not yet brought in the mizbech, they kind of have to wait. But if they're not around, they're no longer here, they became tamei, they're lost. Or, as in our case, we have to wait with them overnight. The Kohanim cannot proceed to have their portion, the achilas basar, in which case the owner will have kapar. The Sanya, yochal nitmu imurin. Perhaps even if the imurin became tamei, or she'avdu, it got lost. Lo yu Kohanim zakon mechaz v'shayik. The Kohanim was still not eligible to have their portion of the korban. Talmud Loimar, v'haya chaz la'aron levanov. We learn from this pasuk, b'kol mokim, that they can have it in any case, even if there were no imurim brought in the mizbeach. And it's referring to a case where they can't, because the imurim became tamei or are no longer here. So likewise, in our case, there's nothing preventing the Kohanim from having their chelik, because the imurim cannot at this point be brought on the eish of the mizbeach. So once the Kohanim eat, the Baalim have kapara, and are no longer considered mechusar kippur. Continues the Gemara. Rav Kahana Rami. Rav Kahana had a stira between two psukim. Ksiv, one pasuk says, Lo yolin chelev chagi ad boiker. The chelev of my korban chagiga should not be left overnight until morning. Ad boiker hu lo yolin. It shouldn't be left until morning, in which case it will become puzzle. Ha kol alayla kulo yolin. But throughout the night, you can leave it over, meaning you could process it throughout the night. You could bring it on the Mizbeach, even during the night. We're speaking about a carbon, of course, that was brought yesterday, by day. How could you do that? How could you bring something onto the Mizbeach anytime throughout the night? Uksiv, we have another pasuk. It's the pasuk we discussed yesterday. That Oleh, on the carbon Tamid Shal Shachar, after the first Tamid, you want to complete all the other carbones. Oleh Hashlem Kol HaKarbonos Kulan. So everything is meant to be completed before afternoon, before the Tamid Shal Ben Arbaim. You can't bring another carbon after the Tamid Shal Ben Arbaim. And here we have another pasuk which tells us, yeah, you can bring the chelav throughout the night. Hu moisif lo, hu mefarak lo. He asked, and he himself reconciled the stira between the two psukim. Kishenet toisru. Apparently, we're speaking that the carbon was already brought by day. The shchita, the zrika, everything was by day. The chelav that we have here throughout the night, these are remnants of that carbon. The pasuk is teaching us. There's nothing to prevent hakrava of this type of chelav, which is merely a remnant of a carbon brought before the Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim. Once the zrika has been accomplished, this chelav now belongs to the carbon brought before the Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim. As Rashi explains, that once you did the zrika by day, before the Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim, that carbon is attributed to the carbon Tamid Shel Shachar. It's part of the Tamid Shel Shachar system. So now, although you have some remnants of that carbon, it's okay. And it's not a stira, it's not a negation of that mitzvah hashlama. Therefore, we can go ahead and bring it even throughout the night. Okay, let's summarize the Gemara up until this point. So we learned that the first carbon in the day is meant to be Tamid Shel Shachar. The last carbon is generally Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim. However, the Gemara gave us some exceptions, as follows. First, will actually be the Ketores. And the reason is because it says by the Ketores, Ba'boiker, which precedes the Tamid Shel Shachar, which only has a single reference, once Ba'boiker, which indicates that Ketores comes before. Afterwards come the Nedarim and Davos. As we learned, Aleh Hashlem Kol HaKarbonos Kulam, everything is meant to be attributed to the Tamid Shel Shachar and follow the Tamid Shel Shachar. Then afterwards, the final carbon is going to be the Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim. But even after the Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim, we have some exception. On Erev Pesach, the Pesach will follow the Tamid. And the reason for that is because by Pesach we have the term Be'erev and Bein Arbaim, in contrast with Tamid, where we only have Bein Arbaim. This indicates that Pesach comes later than Tamid. Now we actually have two brises. In brisa number 1, it was Pesach, and then Ketores and Neiros. The reason why Ketores and Neiros follow the Pesach is because the pasuk says that Aaron HaKohen should be makti oisei, should light the Neiros me'erev ad boiker and oisei will be me'erev ad boiker, indicating that anything else cannot take place at that point. Ketores and Neiros are meant to be the last items on the list. Going to brisa number 2, Ketores and Neiros come first. They come after the Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim, but before the Pesach. The reason for that is because by Pesach it says Be'erev and Bein Arbaim, to indicate that that's the last carbon on the list. So it's Ketores Neiros and then Carbon Pesach. However, the Brisa proceeded to tell us we have some other exceptions as well to this rule of Hashlim Oleh Kol HaKarbonos. For instance, a Mechusar Kippurim on Erev Pesach, in order to allow him, to enable him, the Achilas Carbon Pesach, which carries a Einish Karas, we go ahead and we're makar of his Karbonis, which will enable him to eat the Carbon Pesach, even at this late hour, even after the Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim. We have another sheet in the Brisa which added any Mechusar Kippurim, even throughout the year, who happens to have a carbon sitting, awaiting to be eaten, and he can't because he's Mechusar Kippurim. Now he realizes after the Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim, well, I still haven't brought my Karbonis. We allow him to bring his Karbonis. There are two approaches. Either we're speaking about a Metzayir who's an Ani, who already brought his Asham before the Tamid, who already brought his Oila before the Tamid, and all he has left is a Chatas. Since it's only a Chatas, in which case only the Dam goes on the Mizbeach, there's no concern. that can be done even after the Tamash Ben Arbayim. Rav Papa's approach was speaking even if he's bringing a behema. He simply takes the chalavim, the emurim of the behema, and is malina al mizbeach, puts it on the mizbeach overnight. Is not makter it. Is makriv it, yeah, but not makter it. So this allows the Bechus Kippurim to have his kapara and to eat his carbon shlomim that's waiting. But nobody did any isser. Nobody was over on an asay of hashlamim because there was no haktar done until tomorrow morning after Tamid Shal Shach. We just learned now that if a carbon's dam was nizrak before the Tamid Ben Arbayim, that allows us to go ahead and be makter the chalavim throughout the night. Continues the Gemara. Rami le Rav Safra le Rav. Rav Safra asked a stira to Rav, a stira between two psuk. Ksiv la yolin la boiker zevach chag Pesach. So the carbon Pesach should not be left overnight until morning. It's going to make it possible. La boiker hud la yolin. It should be left until morning. Ha kol alay la yolin. But it can be here throughout the night, and you can be makter it anytime throughout the night. Now we're speaking about the portion of the Korban Pesach which was brought yesterday. We're speaking about Yudal that night. So it was a weekday Korban, brought on Erev Pesach, and you could be makter the chalavim throughout that evening, throughout that laila, which is already Yom Tov. So that's one pasuk. But we have another pasuk which doesn't allow Oila Shabbos v'Shabbat. The only thing you're makter on Shabbos is the oil of that Shabbos. You can't take an oil of a weekday oil and bring it on Shabbos. You can't take the carbon of the choil and bring it on Yom Tov. So how can you take the carbon Pesach, the emurim of the weekday carbon Pesach, and be makter tonight on Yom Tov? Omar lei. So he responded. Rav responded. Kvar ramye nialei. Rav Abba Barchia already asked this very kasha. The Rav Avo, Vishal, and he answered as follows. He responded to him that Hocha was speaking about a very unique case over here. This Korban Pesach was not a weekday Korban Pesach. Why? Because this year Erev Pesach fell out on Shabbos. So this Korban Pesach brought yesterday on Erev Pesach was actually a Shabbos Korban. And now we have no problem. The Chalvei Shabbos craving B'Yom Tov, because the Chalavim of a Shabbos Korban can be brought on Yom Tov. That reconciles the two psuk. Omar lei. So he responded back, Mishum the Chelvi Shabbos craving B'Yom Tov. Just because you have this formula that the Chelvi Shabbos can be brought on Yom Tov. That's the pshat, this pasuk. You're going to narrow down the pasuk to be speaking only in this specific case that the Korban Pesach was a Shabbos Korban. The pasuk is a generic pasuk, it's a general pasuk. Not specifying that we're speaking specifically about Shabbos. Anan and Neku, we're going to proceed and v'neiman say v'neimalei the haikra ba'abasa shecholis b'Shabbos. Who the say this pasuk is specific only to the Erev Shabbos, which Erev Pesach, which is Shabbos. It's difficult to say that that's the context of the pasuk. Amalei he responded, yeah, shavke the kra. Let's leave the pasuk. Duhu dochek umukim anashay, because the very wording of the pasuk itself necessitates interpreting it in this narrow way. There's no other way to understand the pasuk. We have that stira. Otherwise, we're going to have a kasha. So apparently, you must say the pasuk is indeed speaking about this very unique case. The pasuk that says you can be makter the chalavim of the Korban Pesach on Yom Tov is speaking where the Korban Pesach was brought on Erev Pesach, which happened to be Shabbos. So it's Chelvei Shabbos, which can be brought on Yom Tov. Okay, time for a brief review of today's daf. So we spoke about the fact that the Korban Tamid Shel Shachar is meant to be the first on the list. The Korban Tamid Sheben Arbayim, the last Korban on the list. We have some exceptions. The Brisa tells us the Ketores precedes the Tamid Shel Shachar. Then come the Darm and the Davis. Then come the Tamid Sheben Arbayim. What about the Pesach, the Ketores and the Neiros? According to Brisa 1, Pesach comes after the Tamid. And the reason is because in Pesach we have Be'erev and Ben Arbayim, which indicates lateness. Then come Ketores and Neiros. According to Brisa 2, Ketores and Neiros precede the Korban Pesach. We learned that in Mechusar Kippurim on Erev Pesach, according to one sheet, even throughout the year, allows us to bring his Korbanos even after Tamid Sheben Arbayim to enable him the Achilas Kachim. We learned that if a Korban had its Zrika before the Tamid Sheben Arbayim, we can go ahead and complete the process throughout the night. And we also learned that the Achilas Kachim is a mitzvah asay. even the portion that the Baalim eat, certainly the portion that the Kohanim eat, which, as we learned, is actually Ma'akav the Kapara, and the Baalim only has a complete Kapara until the Kohanim have their chelik of the korban as well. Be well, Hatzlacha Rabbah.